St. Joseph was a man of obedience, and that means to hear. St. Joseph is approached by God 4 times in dreams through angels. My dreams are usually pretty boring. Maybe I have the occasional shark attack. St. Joseph is prompted in his dreams to take action, and he does. He doesn't sit on the fence for days. He doesn't sit on the fence for years. He does the will of God, even if he doesn't understand it. You see sometimes statues or paintings of a sleeping St. Joseph. Part of that is again, the way as God has spoken to him in dreams, but part of it is also the call to trust. When we fall asleep, it's an act of trust. You know, I trust in a sense of safety that I'll probably wake up tomorrow. The sleeping St. Joseph, the dreamer St. Joseph, sometimes people will put prayer requests underneath statues of him like that, to let go, to release. I'm not in total control of everything in my life right now. St. Joseph, help me to hear the word of God, help me to hear the will of God and to move on it, to not just hear it and be like, maybe I'll get around to it another year, to create silence. Again, St. Joseph, a man of silence, understood, God, you do the speaking. I don't need to talk all the time. Help me to listen to those around me, to those in my family, and to really balance a life of work and leisure. St. Joseph, the sleeping St. Joseph, can help us there too, because especially if we're tempted to be a workaholic, especially if we're tempted to be productive all the time and we don't really ever take a Sabbath rest. St. Joseph, the faithful Jewish man, understood the nature of rest. He understood you work hard and then you can rest hard. Along with that obedience, St. Joseph also knows dependency. He also knows he has to flee with his family. Whatever shop he may have had, he has to leave behind to go to Egypt, where he's in exile, where he has to all of a sudden be in a new territory, be at the mercy of the conditions on the road, of when he's in Egypt as he arrives. And that's stressful. And so if you too have had a stressful season of life because of what's going on in the world, what's going on in your work, if you've lost a job, that's a big cross when you feel out of control. From St. Joseph, we can also learn fatherhood. And by that, I mean parenthood, whether you are a parent, you're preparing to be one, or you're in a season where you're in school or as a young adult, and you're still called to be a self-gift. Your life is not about you. This is the spiritual physics of the Trinity. It's always about self-gift. It's always about getting out of myself and my own ego. The heart of the Father of St. Joseph can help us understand the heart of the Father of God, which we're all called to imitate. In fact, that's what Pope Francis named his apostolic letter with the Father's heart for this year. 150 years after St. Joseph is named the patron of the universal church, patron of the whole church around the world. It's under St. Joseph's fatherly care. 150 years later, Pope Francis has established this year as the year of St. Joseph, with a specific call to meditate on the Father's heart here. One of my favorite lines or titles, I guess, that Pope St. John Paul II called forward is Guardian of the Redeemer. St. Joseph is the guardian of the Redeemer. This Messiah, this God-man, child of Jesus Christ, is given to St. Joseph to be the guardian of. So you can imagine that's a little stressful, but a beautiful vocation, and one that, again, is life-giving, not just for a little town in Bethlehem, but for the entire world. How that's going to bless everything. And it's also an invitation for us to participate in that self-gift, to look at my own life again. Where am I overly focused on myself? Where is my ego running the show? Where can I learn to get over myself? So to end, from Pope Francis himself in this apostolic letter, each of us can discover in Joseph the man who goes unnoticed, a daily, discreet, and hidden presence, an intercessor, a support and a guide in time of trouble. St. Joseph reminds us that those who appear hidden or in the shadows can play an incomparable role in the history of salvation. Lots more to say on St. Joseph. I'm going to leave you there. I encourage you to keep digging in and reflecting on how this silent guardian of the Redeemer can play a role in your own spiritual life to walk alongside you, as he's been walking alongside me for a while, to bring us closer to Christ. And from all of us at Ascension Presents, God bless.
We couldn't spend Thanksgiving with our families, but we have to take a census now?
Okay, a lot of things the government is saying these days don't make sense. I get it, but yeah, I think we just have to go.
I am 9 months pregnant. It is Christmas Eve. This is not the time.
Listen, it's literally not a big deal. I'll get an Uber. Nazareth to Bethlehem is not that far.
Wait,
Honestly.
how come we have to go to the man's hometown? Don't you think that's a little sexist?
Listen, if we're gonna go all the way up there, we should probably spend the night. I'm trying to find a hotel. I literally can't find anything. Everything's booked.
Use your Marriott points.
Everything's blacked out.
Okay. Well, I just found an Airbnb.
Okay.
Looks like it's a rustic barn. A full immersive experience. There are live barn animals. Just think about the photo op. You,
Okay, well,
me, the baby, and this guy.
no, we're not doing that.
So right. I mean, we've got to do something to top a gender reveal.
Listen, I'm sorry we didn't have a balloon popping or a confetti cannon or anything. Ours was better than that. We found out we were having a boy because an angel of the Lord appeared to me in a
your dream. I know.
You got chocolate on your face.
I know.
I mean,
I know, Joe.
All right, so what?
All right, I'm gonna check reviews.
Yeah, all right.
5 stars.
Okay.
Woohoo. Raise the barn roof. Oh, it says the baby has to sleep in a manger. But I read on a mom blog that exposure to hay and allergens isn't good for newborns. So
Are we gonna vaccinate, by the way?
my parents will not go for that.
What? My parents said they wanted us to.
Your parents.
Okay, I don't know what that means. You're emotional and you're with child, and I'm gonna choose to ignore that. Listen, we'll just go. I'll pack an overnight bag. Let me just go upstairs. I'll get like some swaddling clothes.
Swaddling clothes?
Yeah, what? What?
I read another blog that said if a newborn turns over while it's swaddled, suffocation risks.
Listen, I know you're putting a lot of pressure on this. This is your firstborn child. Can you just chill on like the mom blogs for a second?
Okay, gifts.
What?
Let's think this through. Hypothetically,
Okay.
what if 3 intelligent males want to come and bring us a gift?
I mean, where are they coming from? The Far East?
Maybe.
Just tell them to Amazon Prime it. It's fine.
Yeah,
Right?
that makes sense.
Yes. I can't believe we're gonna miss Christmas.
Yeah, well, I'm pregnant and we're just engaged, so I'm not going to miss the judgmental stares from the in-laws. Thanks.
You know, yeah, that makes sense now that I think about it. I think you put it there.
Oh my.
What?
I am going to be posting on Instagram
Let's not.
from a barn
Don't do that.
with live barn animals announcing our newborn child. Think about the likes.
Listen, can we just lower the expectations here? You're putting a lot of pressure on this, okay? This kid, he's not gonna be perfect.
I think he is.
That's one of the signs of the suspension of the natural law tradition is government is now intervening to redefine it. And then you're right, it's been defined along purely personalist, voluntarist lines. Furthermore, the religions have long recognized, and people sensitive to natural law have recognized, that the civil government has an interest, should have an interest in fostering the family. In Catholic social teaching, it's not the individual that's the basis of society, but the family. And so it's good for a civil society to foster the relationship between a man and a woman who give rise to children. That's not just a religious preoccupation, that's a civil good, and has been recognized as such from the beginnings of the natural law tradition.
So, Bishop Barron, one of the questions that arises here is why religion has lost so much steam over the course of the last 60 years in the United States. The United States is still much more religious than other countries by statistics, but agnosticism and atheism are obviously growing. Secularism is growing. The churches seem to be hollowing themselves out more and more. Historic traditional institutions seem to be making sort of deals with secular left-wing culture in which the alligator will supposedly eat them last. And so the question becomes whether traditional institutions are going to be able to reinvigorate themselves, because the only areas of religion that are growing right now are in fact the ones that are significantly more traditional. In Judaism, for example, my religion, it is only the Orthodox that are growing demographically. Within a generation and a half, Reform and Conservative simply will not exist in the United States, demographically speaking. You're seeing the same thing in liberal churches all across the country. No one goes to them because if you wish to actually spend your Sunday hearing about left-wing social gospel, you can go to a football game and go out to a party later and skip the church entirely.
Right. Yeah, I've been tracing this for a long time. A lot of people have, and you're right. I mean, these trends are not encouraging, and certainly within the Christian churches, one of the clearest indications is that the forms of liberal Protestantism have sort of fallen off the table. So that's almost a complete surrender to the cultural consensus. Within the Christian churches, those that are I'd say boldly Orthodox, they're holding to the classical Orthodox beliefs are the ones that are growing. And of course they are, because people find that interesting and compelling. If we're just a vague echo of the secular culture, as you say, who cares? I think that a recovery of our confidence is key. I go back within the Catholic framework, even more broadly Christian framework, mid-20th century. Think of, from Evelyn Waugh to Thomas Merton to Fulton Sheen to Dorothy Day. We had a whole slew of figures, literary, cultural, theological, Christopher Dawson, many others, who had a very confident sense of Christianity, of Catholicism. And the church was, certainly compared to today, was flourishing. That loss of confidence, where did it come from? Well, the 60s and all that. And within the Catholic context, people blame the Second Vatican Council, which is not fair. The council itself was a richly articulated, confident Catholicism. But for all kinds of cultural reasons, there was a loss of confidence. So, a recovery of that, a recovery of mere Christianity, if you want to use Lewis's term, just if all the Christian churches could claim their essential beliefs in God, in Christ, in redemption, in sin and grace, etc. But there's been a hand-wringing quality to so much of Christianity the last 50 or so years, and that's not helped the project at all.
So, Bishop Barron, this does raise the question of if you're going to have a strong and muscular church, a church that actually defends its own priorities, this means drawing lines. And one of the big problems in traditional religion is that there's been an unwillingness to draw lines. So, to take a very contentious example, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi claim that they are very, very Catholic people, and yet Nancy Pelosi supports abortion on demand, and she's out there championing same-sex marriage. Joe Biden is doing the same thing. Plus, both of them are promoting the idea that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. What should the Catholic Church do about issues like this?
Well, it should certainly, and I've done this now, I'm speaking in my own name, but also as the bishop of the church, to call that out as incoherent. And I got that language from Jorge Mario Bergoglio, who used it when he was Archbishop in Buenos Aires, now, of course, Pope Francis. There's an incoherence in being Catholic and holding to those views. And I think the church should call that out. Now, the way the church is structured, it's up to the individual bishop of a diocese to make that determination. So there, I'd cede it to the Archbishop of Washington or Archbishop of San Francisco. In the latter case, Archbishop Corleone has in fact said to Nancy Pelosi, you should not receive communion. The Archbishop of Washington has decided not to do that. So in our polity, our ecclesial polity, that's the way we resolve those issues. It's up to the individual bishop. I think at the very least to call out the incoherence of that position is desideratum.
Well, that is Bishop Robert Barron. Again, you can check out his brand new book, The Great Story of Israel, Election, Freedom, and Holiness. He's an amazing thinker, and you should check out all of his work. Bishop Barron, really appreciate the time and the insight.